Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you for spending the time this afternoon with us. My name is Bert. I live in Holland. I work in the European CTO office of Informatica. And I'd like to share some thoughts with you about how to manage and how to get business innovation and business value out of big data. So to start, for me, to learn a little bit about you, I'm not going to make a tour, but who of you is developing on a Hadoop platform? And who is here just as a starter in the Hadoop big data world and just learning? That's a similar thing that I see everywhere. It's all very premature, very new area. And although we've been working with first with Cloudera since the last 5 years when they started, sort of, we now also partner with Hortonworks and the others because there's so many projects going on in the big data space. So my presentation will follow the lines of what is big data, but how also relates it to other data in your organization and how you can manage and get value out of this. As you can see, we live in a very rapidly changing world with many devices, many people connected through all types of devices, mobile phones, Facebook, Twitter, Google, other applications, and companies want to get as much information as they can from those devices and get value out of it. So the changes are happening very, very rapidly, and that also impacts the volumes of data and the types of data that needs to be managed. And business looks at this big data as opportunities for innovation. And that's in various verticals. It's same platform, but different use cases to get value out of that. If you look at financial services companies that are looking at, if we do a risk analysis, get value out of that to make better predictions and recommendations on what's happening and what will happen. In retail and telco, getting churn analysis, preventing people from leaving, having much more data available than in the past at an affordable rate. I mean, that's the other big thing in this era, of course. Media and entertainment industries with gaming, creating a lot of data. People want to do innovative things in gaming and betting, doing in-game betting, speed, types of data, creating new business value. That's all on the agenda of those companies. And even in the public sector, governments and organizations are looking at innovating their IT infrastructure to get more value about citizens, about checking compliance from large organizations with regional and international laws. So all these industries are looking to innovate their business, and for that they need data. From our perspective, and who of you knows Informatica before entering this room? That's good. Not all, but that will change, of course, after today. So we're in the data space ever since we started, which is over 20 years now, and we've always put data central. So for us, really, this is not really new. This era, it's just an extension of what's already happening. We've always said data is the focus. Data is the most important asset of companies, and data is what companies can differentiate themselves from their competition. Because their competition has the same application, they also have SAP or Oracle or other applications. They do similar things, but the data is their unique asset where they can make decisions on and differentiate. So data has always been our focus. We've been in business, as I said, for over 20 years and still going strong, but only focusing on data. And because we only focus on this data platform, we need these partner ecosystems. We don't pretend to have all the solutions available for all your problems. We focus on data integration, data quality, data management, master data management, those type of assets and aspects of your organization. And we partner with other companies that have their specific knowledge, their specific expertise in the areas. And that's in areas from visualization, whether it's with ClickTech or with Tableau software or MicroStrategy. Those are partners of us. But also on the data storage side, Yeah, the organizations with the Hadoop distributions, the Hortonworks, Cloudera, MapR, and also on the more traditional platform sides, the Oracle Teradatas of the world. In this new era, we also partner with new companies like DataSift. If you want to integrate data from Facebook, Twitter, get data from that platform, do something with it, put it on a Hadoop platform. That's our strength. Gluing all these together and being sort of the integration platform to make sure that the data is secure, is fast available, it's available when you need it, and is of high quality. As I said, for us, this is not really something new. The industry has been changing ever since I've been working in this industry. And looking at the color of my hair, this is not my resume, although it's pretty close. All these systems that have been coming along in the years, they're still there. There are still IBM mainframes in production systems. Large organizations have still IBM mainframes. But then over time, innovations happened. The client-server era came with relational databases, with Oracle and Ingres. Then there was a change in networking. Worked with Mosaic before they were called Netscape in the beginning of the internet era, and then the internet came along. It's changed, again, a lot of things in the industry, moving from fat client-server PCs to thin clients, web-based applications. And also what you see is that the number of devices was going to increase from a few mainframe systems to more client-server systems to even more web applications and web systems. And now it's even growing even further. So the Hadoop platform, which is now available for a couple of years, changed that space with virtualization, VMware, cloud computing. And now you see the era coming up of the Internet of Things. Every device is creating data and sending that data to somewhere to be analyzed. So the volume, and that you've heard that many times today and this week, that the volumes is so much increasing that there has to be a change in the infrastructure to manage all that data. And not only is the infrastructure from a platform perspective changing, it's also the programming language. Where you come from the left on the mainframe, with the COBOL era to the C area, C++, Java, and now it's MapReduce. So you need all these different types of skills to develop programs on that platforms. So to isolate and to focus on the data, we have developed this platform that can help you making those choices more independent and let you leverage what you already have developed. Because if you look at what the challenges are in large organizations now, is that, well, first of all, the amount of data is growing so fast. And the cost of that data is incredible if you stay using the traditional databases and data warehouses. Secondly, the business asked IT to onboard new types of data. They want to know what their customers are doing on Twitter and on Facebook and how they behave on their websites. So to integrate weblog data. So all new types of data need to be integrated, and they can't wait for IT to say, okay, in a couple of months from now you will have that data available in your reporting environment. And then, of course, the high expenses of that platform. And if you start looking at the new platform, then it's very hard to find data scientists, to find the people that really can do the work on a, for example, Hadoop cluster environment. So with these struggling, if you ask people, then the most effort is still going, besides finding the right people, it's still in preparing the data and making sure that the data quality is right. You can put, of course, all your data in a platform, but if you don't know the quality of the data, or you're not sure that some files have maybe loaded 3 times instead of 1 time, if you don't manage that, and you don't have a capability of verifying the quality, then it doesn't make use to report on it, right? So 80% of the work of Big Data Project is in the data integration space and in the data quality space. And most of the time it's hidden costs. It's programmers working on it, improving quality. It's hours and it's weeks that they're working on that, but it's part of the total project cost, and that's not always visible to the organization. So looking at some research and asking questions, what are the big and primary concerns about using big data software, then you see the expertise is scarce and expensive, and the data warehouse appliances are expensive. So those are the two things. And then you have the analytical tools that are working on relational systems that are not always available on NoSQL and Hadoop platforms. So there's several areas of concern and of issues, but it needs to be solved because there's so much value in all the data that you and your customers have. So the Informatica platform, which is branded as Vibe, or the virtual data integration platform, it's a virtual data machine that can execute processes on data that you want it to process. And it can process the data on a platform that you want it to process it on. Yeah, so our message is you take the logic that you want to do with data, look at what it looks like, what function do you want to apply on it, aggregating, filter, transforming, joining, whatever. But all do that on a logical level. And then you deploy it wherever you want. It can be in our engine, in the Vibe engine, but we also have an embedded Vibe engine in the Hadoop platform. So you can have the engine or the Hadoop engine execute your logic. But you can do the maintenance and things on a graphical user interface level. Which means that, and I saw several hands rising when I asked who knows Informatica. You probably know Informatica from developing mappings, developing logic. I think I can. So developing logic, you have some source data, you want to perform some actions, some transformations on it, and you want to write it somewhere. Well, that data can be sort of everything, right? Maybe you have web logs, you have XML files, JSON objects that are coming in, relational sources. Maybe you want to get data from an SAP system or from another application. That doesn't really matter from a logic perspective. You just define how the data looks like and say what you want to do with it. And that's the strength that we've always tried to separate the what from the how. So you specify what you do, and then the how will follow later. And that means that if you have functionality on top of it from business or development perspective, so you want to profile your data, have a look what's in the data, improve data quality rules, do address validation, do credit card checking, do whatever you want to do with the data, that can be done with the same platform. Yeah. So whether the data is in Hadoop or in a flat file or in an Oracle database or in an XML object, you can use profiling, parsing, you can use data quality rules applying to the same objects. Types of data doesn't really matter. And also the latency of the data, it's up to you and your business how you want to achieve this. Yeah, so if you see, I'm just loading data from an external environment into my Hadoop environment. That's one use case. You just specify, okay, where's the data? When do I want to load it? Every hour, every day, every week? Or you say, no, I want to replicate my database changes in Oracle and replicate those changes directly into Hadoop for immediately analyzing. Or you say, no, I want to have streaming data coming from the switches in a telco network and have those messages that are coming from the switches and put them directly in the Hadoop cluster. Maybe do some aggregation beforehand or do some transformation beforehand so you can process the structures immediately on the Hadoop cluster. And then on the right-hand side, you see the analytics. So how you want to use it, whether it's with a BI tool or with other analytics tool, or you want to move the data into another application, that's also possible. Or use the Hadoop platform for a sort of pre-aggregation, pre-transformation engine for doing the large volumes of processing and summarizing type of work, and move a summary of that and a result of that into your already existing data warehouse. That's also a possibility. So it's all about the data, and it's all about your environment, what is the best way to move forward. The key thing is that if you have people that have knowledge on how to develop logic, those developers can be used to do big data Hadoop projects, but those people can also be used for doing projects moving from an SAP banking system into an Oracle data warehouse. It's the logic that you specify, and the how is defined later on. So that's the power of our platform, and we branded that as Vibe, the virtual data machine, because we now can also deploy parts of it in different areas. You can say, I want to deploy this in the cloud. So the logic you develop and you deploy it in a cloud environment, if that's for business reasons the best for your organization. You can run it on a desktop, but you can use it in the Informatica Power Center engine to execute all this logic. But we can also now put some of the logic into devices. So, for example, if you have a telco probe, and in the probe you specify or you see what is coming into the network. It's an SMS message or a Facebook request or a SAP transaction or an HTTP request for an internet page. You can do some of the logic already in that device. Maybe do some pre-parsing, some enrichment of the data before you move it to the Hadoop platform or before you move it anywhere to the remote location. So you can process the data where it's most feasible, but still you keep the logic on the metadata level, not on a MapReduce Java level. Yeah, so that's the biggest key of our message. Map once, deploy anywhere. Of course, there's a strategy related to all of this, and the business needs to focus on, okay, what is it what the business wants? And there are several things here, and I'm not going through all of these. But obviously, we are not here for hobby, at least not only for hobby. It's the business that wants to get value out of it. So they have the business goals that they want to achieve with these projects. If those projects are prioritized, then you can make a list. Okay, what value do I want to get out of that project that I'm going to start? Yeah, I want to increase my customer loyalty because they're moving to competitors too often, or they don't buy new stuff anymore. Or I want to increase my marketing ROI. Those are valid questions from the business. But to answer those questions, you need information. What information do I need to get those answers to the business? Sometimes you don't know. You just need a lot of data, but you can specify that you need a lot of data. And then you can specify, okay, where do I get this data from? Is it from operational systems? Is it from weblogs? Is it from machines? Is it from market data that I need to buy? And then you have this concept, and then you define the whole big data supply chain. Okay, so you specify for each of those people, okay, what should they do? How should they work in the project? Who is responsible for doing what? Prioritize the goals, and then generate insights, validate hypotheses that you have set in the past, in the beginning of the project, and then move on. If it is successful, make it operational and make the conclusions of that project part of the production environment. And again, it can mean that the production environment contains an Hadoop environment, but it doesn't mean it is not a rule. You can also say, well, the project proved that these type of customers behave like this, and if I approach them like this, then I increase my revenue with this customer. That result of a Hadoop project can then be put in as a result into the business process, or even in the analytics process in the traditional data warehouse or application. So there is a process around this, the best practices around this that you can use. It's not only just developing stuff, but it's also putting it into context and putting it into a process. And then you get this whole framework where your large organizations work with a lot of data, with a lot of type of data-related project, with master data management, single view of customer, single view of product, product information management. All this is related to each other. There was a conference a couple of weeks ago where an analyst says big data analytics without master data management is useless. And I found it a bit blunt statement, but on the other hand, if you have a complete view of your customers and your products and your channels and all your master data, then it's much easier to relate that with big data analytics projects. And you see many terms here like data integration hub, or as Cloudera branded it now, I think the enterprise data hub. You have data virtualization, where you can specify logical data objects, where you can get one object getting data from Hadoop and from another data source. Doesn't really matter. It's just part of a complete data solution that your business, combined with the IT department, decide what's best to get to that solution. So some use case patterns that we see in our customer base used for big data, for implementing big data for this use case. One of the most used is data warehouse optimization. So having a big, expensive, existing data warehouse and optimize that, make it cheaper, make it faster, and make use of much more data in the organization. This morning in the keynote, I think it was Forrester that said that only 12% of the data was used in analytics. So with this data warehouse optimization, you can put much more data at an affordable price in a big data platform to optimize the analytics. Easier to get a complete picture of your customer. Not only what is your customer doing in your own systems, what is he buying, how much did he spend on you, how is his payment behavior and all this stuff, but also how is his network, how is he related to other people in the social networks, how is his relation in the business network, does he have a good relationship with the CEO of that company, which also is a big important customer of us. All this information you want to gather to get the complete view of your customer and doing all the analytics around that. Another use case is the real-time operational intelligence, where you can say, okay, something happens, and I want, based on these rules, I want to take an action if this and this happens so many times within so many minutes. Something like a complex event processing engine. That's also something you can do with the Hadoop platform to make that, again, available quickly, not a project of several months, but have that available in a couple of weeks for the business. And a managed data lake is some sort of a new term now. I don't even know who termed it first, but Hortonworks, Cloudera, Informatica, we all talk about the data lake and the managed data lake, where you continue ingest data in that lake. And a lake can be a pond, which is very easy, but a lake can also be very big and very deep. If you can't swim, you drown, so you have to also be careful to not drowning in this data lake. And that's why we think that it needs to be a managed data lake where you have control over all the data that is going in there. You know what data is going in there. You know who is using what data, who's allowed to use what data for privacy reasons, et cetera, et cetera. So inject the data from wherever you think you might use data, operational systems, real-time systems, message queues, you name it. You define what you need in this data lake. So it can be loading or archiving. It can be replicating changes from operational systems. It can be streaming data from devices. If you have it there, you can have people looking at the data, profiling it. Even business users can do it. It doesn't have to be IT people. The business users can do domain discovery. They say, okay, I get this message, and this field is called XYZ for whatever reason, and if I look at it, it's all IP addresses. Let's immediately check, and then I can say, profile this, and then I say, okay, 99% of that field is IP addresses, and 1% is some funny numbers. And you can click on it, which messages, which records contain those funny numbers. Okay, next time I eliminate them before I move them into this platform. So it's a continuous process. Then you can say, okay, I want to mask sensitive data. Some countries have legislation that the data cannot be visible because it's privacy sensitive. In a telco, you cannot have everyone look at who a person is calling. Especially for VIP, if you want to know which phone calls the King of Holland is making every day, that's somehow sensitive. I don't know why, but it's somehow sensitive. So if you have that demand, then you want to anonymize that data and mask it for the people that are not allowed to see that, right? And then there's a choice. Okay, you have maybe a business reason to mask it before you put it into a Hadoop cluster, or you mask it when somebody reads it, and based on the user ID, you mask it and anonymize it and make it invisible. That's all part of what we can provide as a platform, but it's all part of a use case in this data lake concept. Then, of course, you put governance around the owners of the data, who's allowed to use it, who is allowed to change the definitions and things like that. Prepare and curing it for resolving issues with the data before you make it real in a production environment. And then you can decide where you want to put the results. Either leave it into a Hadoop platform or move it into another analytics database store. And that other database store can, again, be anything. I mean, yeah, it can be. I saw here some booth with Axion. It's a new database company. We have connectors to that database. We can put it in Teradata. We can put it into. You make the choice, and we make sure that the data is put there. So that's another example. Looking at what our customers are doing with the projects and big data, it's, again, because it's a vertical, independent solution, we have customers in financial services, in government, telco, using Hadoop as a sort of innovation in their businesses. So this financial services company had a challenge. They wanted to grow the digital business to 30%, and they had to reduce the cost and then make that possible. So what they did was getting their old data warehouse, their operational data, put all the data in the Hadoop cluster, have business people work with this, and do the analytics on the complete data set in Hadoop. So instead of having a huge multi-many-year project, what they used to in the past, they now had only a short project which was delivered in time. And as you can see, they got data from over 18 systems in one Hadoop environment, and were able to use the same skills, the same BI skills, the same data integration skills to complete the project. Another reason for them using this is that they, in the past, had other decisions made. Yeah, so they, in the beginning, started with an Oracle database, and then maybe they grew into a Teradata database for data warehousing, and then they want to change again. They don't know that Hadoop is the end-all for always, right? So they want to be independent, that if next year, in 3 years, in 5 years, there will be another platform doing their job better, cheaper, whatever, that they can move easily also to a newer platform. Eliminate the risk of the investment in that platform. That's why they chose the Informatica platform, because then it's easy to make another decision in the future. So it eliminates the risk of the current decision. Media entertainment company, also working with getting data from gaming, end users, different systems, billing systems, moving it all to an Hadoop cluster, in addition to their traditional grid. So they didn't throw this away. They just put this next to it for additional analytics. And the result is that they have now a complete picture of all their customers, and they can do more focused, more dedicated marketing campaigns, sales campaigns to their installed base. Government. Even in government, maybe you think of how government is always behind the innovators. We still have some government organizations investing a lot in open source and Hadoop platforms for analyzing all the data of their citizens. They see the data volume growth. They can't afford to have the expensive existing data warehouse infrastructure, so they rationalize that and put it in an additional Hadoop cluster for analyzing. Finally, looking at time, and I want to leave some time for questions, I want to give you a brief overview of what we can do to help you make your Hadoop projects successful. First of all, of course, I mentioned Hadoop is just, for us, it's just another source, another target. So moving data from whatever system you have to accessing, ingesting the data from XML sources. If you have Swift messages coming in because you're a bank, we have libraries to automatically transform the Swift into useful information. You can use the libraries and use that into a Hadoop cluster. If you have your own complex objects, maybe in JSON, we have parser for that. You open a JSON file, you say, okay, this is a customer number, this is an IP address, this is whatever. You press a button, we create a library from that, and from that moment on, all those JSON objects are parsed and processed in the Hadoop environment. So getting data from wherever, put it into an Hadoop cluster, that's one. Getting it out of Hadoop is another use case, of course. You have it there and you want to get results or aggregate information out of Hadoop into your existing data warehouse. So that's easy. Source, target, one of the products that we have. Of course, over time, we have developed many connectors to other sources. So if you're used to the user interface and you want to select data and get some sales data from an SAP system, you select the SAP connection. If you want to get some tweets and some Twitter feeds, you connect to the tweet, the Twitter API, and you get data from Twitter. Yeah, so it's same user interface, same tool, but you have all these connectors to all these systems available. And again, it's platforms, appliances here, it's social media here. It's pick and choose what you need to process, and we can help you achieve that. We also have real-time data collection and streaming, getting data from sensors, from web servers, web logs, stream them into an Hadoop platform, integrate with Zookeeper so you can manage the process of Informatica processes with other processes that are running. So with one management console, you can see which data movements are in place. These data movements are moving data in real time to Hadoop, and these other processes are moving data from an SAP system into your other data warehouse. Yeah, it's all in one environment, integrated with Zookeeper. We have another component, as I mentioned. We call it Vibe Data Stream. We acquired a company a couple of years ago called 29West. It's a ultra-low latency messaging system used in most of the trading systems, so millions of messages per second, Wall Street type of infrastructures. We use that, and we use it now in the rest of our stack. So parts of that is now used to put some data into a device. So if you look at sensors or network devices, some code can now be pushed into that device. So do some pre-processing, pre-aggregation, pre-filtering in the device before moving it over the network. And then the network can even do multicasting here. So our Vibe Data Stream component can, based on logic that you specify, say that this message from this device, from a telco switch or whatever it is, it needs to go to this CEP engine for complex event processing, that if you see that this person is calling this person more than 10 times an hour, then I want to be notified, something like that. But the same message can also go to an HDFS or to a traditional data warehouse system. I mentioned already the complex data types, and this is just a summary of that. You can use the flat files, you can use XML standards, you can do industry standards, like Accord for insurance, Swift for banking, etc., etc. And you can define your own. This is the user interface. I didn't want to do a demo. First of all, there's no time. But secondly, if you go to YouTube, for example, and you type in Informatica, big data, parsing, whatever you are looking for, you'll find videos with examples how to do things with live demos and execution of all this logic that I just explained. So you see a 5-minute demo how to get Twitter data into your Hadoop and do some neural language processing to get stock symbols out of tweets and make some analytics about that. Yeah. Data quality, your data quality rules, again, it's some logic that you put on data. You can also use them in the same graphical user interface and then deploy it in Hadoop. If you look how we deploy everything in Hadoop, we generate this HQL, the Hive query language. So we create this big thing based on this logic that you specify. So you don't have to program this, you only specify this, and we make sure that it's executed in an optimized way. And then it's executed on the platform there. If you have specific transformation logic, transformation objects, like for example a complex JSON object parsing or an NLP thing to get some data out of a tweet, then that function here, it's custom transformation function as I called it here as a demo, will be available in all the nodes, so in the library of all the nodes of the cluster. So it will just be an extension of the Hive language being used on the Hadoop cluster. Of course, if you already have worked with us in the past and you have Power Center mappings, you can just import them if the data is similar. So you first started with data in Oracle and do some transformation and put it somewhere else. You now put all the data in Hadoop. You can use the same logic, import it, change the definitions to Hadoop source, Hadoop target, deploy it, run it, and a couple of minutes later you run the same logic, but then on a Hadoop platform. This NLP thing, natural language processing, we work with partners here to, first of all, if you want to know which language this tweet is done, is it in Spanish, is it in Dutch, is it in English? If you want to know that, we can put it as an extra attribute in the output. If you say, no, I want to have some words that I'm looking for from the tweets, I want to have that as an attribute, then we can have, in this example, it's stock symbols that you can get out, and then out of the tweet, you can get them as a sort of multi-value column in the output. Profiling, looking at data, doing domain discovery, it's all the same functionality on existing platforms, but now available to all the Hadoop developers that are present and want to do the same things with Hadoop data. Domain discovery is something else then, of course, profiling. Profiling is looking at data. Domain discovery is looking at what domains do I recognize automatically. Do I have credit card numbers? Do I have addresses? Do I have people names? Do I have business names, et cetera, and automatically verify, yes, 90% of this attribute contains this data. And finally, for privacy, the dynamic data masking, as I mentioned. For some users, you can apply rules. If you come in and you look at your data, you see it all. If I come in and look at the same data, I see encrypted data for some attributes. So I still am able to access the HDFS or the Hadoop process, but we intercept the Hive query, and if I'm coming into the system, some attributes are masked that I am not allowed to see. Again, same technology. It works for Oracle, it works for Hadoop, it works for Teradata. And you can also specify the rules once. Good. Yeah, we also have some customers using Hadoop as an archive. So you have old systems, you put all your data that you have in a highly compressed 95% compression rate into a Hadoop cluster and then use that for archive purposes. If you want to do some analytics later on querying on data that is no more in the production systems. To summarize, maximize the return on your data. Lower the cost, of course, with your graphical user interface to develop all your processes. Minimize the risk of new technologies. Today, maybe it's MongoDB. Tomorrow, it's Hadoop. Day after tomorrow, it's I don't know what. You can use the same platform to make the decisions on what is best for you, for your company. And accelerate innovation by continuously adding new stuff, adding new types of data in the organization. And that was what I wanted to share with you. The slides are available on the website. And I thank you for your presence here, for your attention. And I think there's a little bit room for some questions. Any questions? Microphone, please.
Hi, thanks, Bert. Just a question. In most of the examples you showed there of Hadoop clusters being deployed, they were kind of in front of a traditional data warehouse. Mm-hmm. In the examples you've seen, are you generally seeing, as a result of that, the data being stored on the data warehouse going down, at least initially? Or is it more like, we're talking about new use cases and you're importing summaries of the analysis you do from the data warehouse as well?
Yeah, I think I understand the question. So it's not only as a pre-portal for the existing data warehouse, it's also that the data remains in Hadoop, and then there's some BI tool like Tableau or ClickView on top of Hive, on top of Hadoop cluster, to get the reporting from the platform directly. And also you can move data from data warehouse into Hadoop and use it then for analytics combined with other data.
Right. I mean, just in the examples you've seen, are you seeing net offload of data from the data warehouse as a result of deploying Hadoop?
The examples I've seen now was only because the existing data warehouses were becoming too expensive and too large. So they, instead of increasing the licenses with some existing appliance vendors, they moved all the data, let's say everything older than, or moving the complete data warehouse to Hadoop, and only leave the last 3 years of data into data warehouse. And that's just primarily a cost judgment. Those are a few examples that I've seen.
That's fine too.
Yeah. I think one more question, looking at the time. Yeah?
You touched on the Informatica Data Integration Hub that came out last year, and you showed it ingesting data from a Hadoop cluster. I know that later this year, your Data Integration Hub will be able to use Hadoop as underlying storage. Is there any reason why that shouldn't be the same Hadoop cluster?
No. Actually, is the camera still running? Then I shouldn't say it. But it's obviously that Hadoop is a sort of persistent layer for the Data Integration Hub. The Informatica Data Integration Hub, by the way, is a product where you have publishers and subscribers and making it persistent into a hub. So you have publishers, like let's say a financial application or an SAP system can publish data into Hadoop, and the business decide what is being published and what the rate is. Like every evening, the new transactions are moved into this Data Integration Hub. And then you have subscribers getting data out of the hub, which can be analytic solutions or whatever solutions. So it's a business type of pub-sub, what we used to know from the messaging perspective, but now put on the data set perspective. And yes, the Hadoop platform is a perfect storage for that.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think we have to, I got this. I'm available for questions outside. Thanks a lot for coming, and see you later. Thanks.
One additional comment, can you please fill out the evaluation form? And please leave it on the chair. I will get it there. Thanks.